Here's an interesting video about addiction. If anything I've ever learned about my 60 years of life is human beings can get addicted to anything. It doesn't matter what it is. When I was a child, my father got into whatever hobby he got into turned into a job. He literally got into aquariums and fish and tropical fish, and we had over 150 fish tanks in the basement. It was my job to clean them and constantly have water put aside that would distill for 24 hours before putting the fish in the tanks and keep the tanks clean. I did this on a regular basis. It wasn't bad when we had 30 or 40 tanks, but when it started getting up there, it started to get to be an actual job. Then my dad went into breeding chinchillas, cute little rodent, and they would actually be taken and basically you'd sell the fur. People all across the USA have addictions. And I would say any hobby is an addiction. No different than meth, heroin, whatever you choose. Like you take, for example, me being a prepper, a hunter, a fisherman. Um, these are addictions. So the only question is, as a human being, what addiction are you going to choose? What is going to be your addiction? Is it going to be methamphetamines? Is it going to be alcohol? Is it going to be cigarettes? The bottom line is you get to choose whether your addictions are healthy or whether they're not. It's your choice. A person that goes to a gym that works out 3 hours every day, um, 7 days a week, that is their addiction. Their addiction gets so bad when they're going to a gym is they even get to the point where they start shooting up with certain drugs to make their muscles bigger because they believe it makes them more handsome or prettier. Whatever we convince ourselves as a human being, we choose the addiction. Do you go to martial arts? Now, with every addiction, you have to be careful because you can get into it so deep you can't get out. Like, for example, meth. You see them on the streets, they're sleeping in the gutters. Or, for example, you've heard of sex addiction. They can't get enough of it. They're on every porn site, they go everywhere they can. It takes every dollar of their money. Alcoholics. So, your addiction, you have to control. You are going to get addicted to something. There are no two ways about it. You cannot get out of it. Corporations know this, and corporations for hundreds of years have gone this way, knowing if we get a human being to be addicted, it doesn't have to be healthy. They will constantly give up their hard earned money and give it to us. People that drink soda. There is nothing good in soda whatsoever. But yet, when you walk through Walmart, you will see buggy after buggy after buggy with sodas hanging off the sides of their buggies. And the sad part is, soda is cheaper than actual orange juice or apple juice, but then those juices are not good for you either. You just have to look that up. That's pure sugar and water, by the way. Literally, the majority of the food that's in the USA, I don't know about other countries, but the majority of the food that's in the USA is designed to make you a diabetic. They like that because when you become a diabetic, you now become addicted to insulin. Without it, you die. I wish I would have known all this when I was younger. You have to be careful on what addiction you're going to choose. And then you have to level that addiction into that playing field. So you'll hear rich people say, do something you enjoy, do it well, and do it better than anybody else. That statement is true. but it also can consume you. You have to have a balance. You can become one of the best programmers in the world, and it just absorbs your soul. You will literally sit there writing code 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, literally operating on almost no sleep. I know, I've done it. And to please your client and make that money. We all need to make money, no matter what business, what job, or where we choose to work or what education we get. But we have to feed the addiction with balance. You literally have to take time off. You literally have to enjoy those weekends. You have to get out from behind that computer and go sit on that front porch. You have to go for that walk. Now, with addiction, you want to choose addictions that are good for you, beneficial. So if you have an addiction at where you're a workaholic, it's going to take a toll on your family because you don't have that balance. But you're going to be a good worker. And most people probably have the hardest time of finding that balance. When a client says, I need this in 2 weeks, you feel obligated. I must push this out in 2 weeks. When the client says, look, I'll give you a bonus of $1,000, you see those dollar signs and you work to get there, but you don't get any time, no balance, no nothing. And it's okay to do that once in a while. But if you're doing that on a constant basis, it's harming you. And that's all there is to it. So, what addictions are you going to pick and choose in your life? Because you are going to get addicted to something. Like I said, whether it's drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, exercise, prepping, hunting, fishing, jogging, you name it, there are hundreds and thousands of addictions out there. A good amount of your drinks that are made, your Monster drinks and Pride drink, and the caffeine levels are so outrageous, they're at the point of almost blowing up your heart. But people don't care. They ignore it. You'll see thousands of preppers on YouTube and people smoking cigarettes on camera. It's disgusting. There's nothing good about smoking. Why do you need to smoke a cigarette when you're on camera? Okay, you smoke, fine. But why do you got to make yourself look disgusting? It's gross. You obviously have low value for yourself, is what you have. Could that be an addiction? Could an addiction be where you actually have a higher value for yourself, where you dress nice, where you conduct yourself with manners, when you talk to people? You know, when you're raised in the South in Tennessee and down in this neck of the woods, you will hear people be very, very polite. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Open a door. The basics of what used to be. Is this a bad thing? Some people would say, well, it was pounded into them as a child. And then it became muscle memory where you did it. Is it bad? Is it good? I do know this. I do know the wrong addictions can destroy you and your family. And I do know if you choose the right addictions and you moderate them, you will succeed. The also things I've noticed is it only takes one person to change. If you can see it in your neighborhood, if you go out and start cutting your grass, all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're out there cutting your grass, you start hearing lawnmowers all around your neighborhood starting up. You created something. They were sitting on their porch or they were sitting in their house, they heard your lawnmower and they're like, oh shit, I gotta get out there and cut that grass. You were the leader that sparked that entire thing in your neighborhood. So what type of person are you? Are you a follower? Are you a leader? If you notice, and I see it in my house, if I get up and start doing things around the yard, I start cutting grass, I start trimming trees, I start doing just a lot of work in that day, all of a sudden I see my wife coming out on the porch and doing things, and back in the house and doing things. Then I see my one kid doing things. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? I didn't tell them to do anything. I didn't even ask them for help. Your example, your lead, made that happen. And that's just the truth. So think about it. Pick your addictions careful. And make sure you moderate them. And always be the first one out there to do it. And the rest will follow. I'll catch you guys on the next one.